Have you seen these new dealerships? They just keep getting bigger and more extravagant. Some of them are like visiting a museum. Even my local Lincoln dealership, which sold a total of 13 cars last year, looks like this, and it has a fancy cappuccino machine. But all this beautiful infrastructure makes little sense when Tesla and Carvana's direct-to-consumer model is clearly the way forward. And in a normal world where all these places actually have to compete for sales, it makes you wonder where all the money comes from to fund these operations. I personally wonder what percentage of it comes from the service center. Now, the truth is I'm not opposed to getting work done at a dealer. In some cases, I've seen where dealers are cheaper than independent mechanic shops, but it always seems that someone is trying to get one over on you in today's world. Case in point, my brother brought his BMW into the local dealership for a quick recall repair and left with a quote for well over $1,000 in recommended service on a few-year-old 30,000-mile 5 Series hybrid. Now, everything in this quote actually looked pretty straightforward for a dealer. $125 for an oil change, $330 for a coolant flush, $415 for a cabin air filter. $415 for a cabin air filter, that's ridiculous. Hold on, this is actually how my brain processed everything going through the list here. This seems absurd, but then again, I don't really know what the job entails. Now, normally my brother would just get this done as is, and I imagine a lot of other people would too, but I told him to bring the car home. I had to see why this cabin air filter replacement on this car costs so much money. Now, it's not just him. There's some other guys in this BMW forum that have reported the same exact thing, really expensive filter changes, and filters are notoriously one of the simplest things to change on any car. Now, maybe it's because it's one of these new hybrids or because they're buried somewhere and it takes an hour to get to them, but either way, today we're going to find out if this is a literal ripoff or if these complex new cars are just getting more difficult to service. Also, we'll get an update on the Escalade Project and meet up with my friend Rich from Rich Rebuilds, who's visiting my home state to prove me wrong and show me that his LS Tesla does actually exist and isn't just CGI. Now, one of the things that makes this cabin air filter replacement quite a bit different than some of the other cars I've done is that there's not just one cabin air filter to replace, there's two, and I thought that this could be one of the reasons behind this being a $415 job at the dealership. That's really not the case because I paid only $9.50 for these. And when I say these, I mean both of them. This pack of two OE equivalent replacement filters for this BMW was $9.50, so we're still net positive $405 here. If this job doesn't take me north of 3 hours, then I have no clue how the BMW dealership can command $415 to replace cabin air filters. Now, here's the deal. I've not looked up at all how to perform this job. I've never done this job ever on this car or a similar Generation 5 Series. However, cabin air filters are all pretty similar in the process of replacing them. There's two places for it, either underneath here, the passenger side compartment, behind the glove box in here, and I don't see any easy access panels back there, so we're gonna guess that it's not in there, or underneath the hood. Now, when we come right underneath the glove box, there's two little turnstile fasteners that are gonna lead me to believe that this is where our air filters are gonna be. Look, I'm already running into trouble pulling this piece of trim down, so that's where our $400 might come in. Let me go ahead, let's set up the camera, let's time it, and see how long this will take me to do, having no experience doing this job whatsoever. Maybe this trim needs to come off right here. That's gonna do it. All right, I couldn't figure out how the clip came out of this light, so I just popped the light out of the piece of trim here. Looks like two Torx screws up here. Let me go get my set. I'll be right back. This is one of my favorite little sets for jobs like this. These are Torx head keys, and they're just really efficient when you don't need to put a lot of torque on screws like these tiny little ones up here. And yeah, I already got the first one loose. 1, 2. Is this already fallen? Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. They're both in here. And they're pretty dirty too. They definitely need to be replaced. There's one. There's two. One new filter. Does this have the arrow on it? Yep, the arrow goes that way. All right, here's our second filter, and we are no more than 3 minutes in. Now guys, maybe this is the tricky part. Is it impossible to get these air filters back in and keep them both up before we put the cover on? Will this take us 3 hours? See, look, it's already wanting to drop down on me. Let's see here. Well, we got that in the right way. This one goes in this way. So this is definitely the tricky part. You're gonna need to use both your hands for it. And we're gonna just find where these tabs go into, which is right here. We gotta also pull this plumbing out that goes on the outside of the cover. And basically, it's just a matter of getting this set exactly where it needs to be, clipping it in. Well, I guess I made it sound harder than it was, but again, we're probably a whole 4 minutes in at this point. Screw number 1 going back in, screw number 2 going back in, plumbing fitted back over. This was probably the hardest part, is getting this light out of the trim piece itself. Shove it back in. There you go. Time. Wow, if that wasn't a joke, I don't know what is anymore. I mean, I'm always acting super surprised that a dealership wants to rip somebody off. But in the case of 2 cabin air filters with install for $415, something that just took us literally, I mean, if you negate all the time it took me to run and get tools from the barn, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I just don't understand where they can price it at $415. And here, let me tell you about all the other services they recommended specifically for this 5 Series at the same time. And if you compare it to the cabin air filter service, it doesn't make any sense. So they wanted to do an oil change for $125. Arguably, just the oil for the oil change, not even the filter, would cost more than we spent on those 2 cabin air filters. Brake fluid service was $288. A cooling system flush, I mean, this is stuff that takes some real work if they're going to do an entire flush, $331. And an engine air filter, well, nearly $200. That's actually another super easy DIY job we can do here in a second. But still, there's no way you compare those services and charges we just went through to cabin air filter replacement for $415. So if you work for BMW and can explain why this is so expensive at the dealership, please let us know in the comments. Everyone should be doing their own engine air filters. Some of them just use clips you can literally get undone in 10 seconds. If this ever feels like it's stuck, don't pull, because you will crack it. It's plastic. So I'm just going to put a little bit of lubricant right here in between the boot and where it goes in the intake, and this should help free things up a little bit. We'll twist it. All right, it's a tight fit, but you can get it out without removing the brace. It's not the worst I've ever seen before, but it's definitely a good thing. We're gonna replace it. And there you go. This filter costs $16.50. So currently, between the cabin and the engine air filters, we are a net $600 positive versus doing it at the BMW dealer. Let's keep the DIY train moving along right here. We are going to do a quick oil change on our BMW the old school way with the jack and jack stands. Don't mind the fact that the Ferrari is sitting here with a dead battery in the way of our 2-post lift. Don't mind the fact that it's also got a flat tire, so it's nearly impossible for me to push it out right now. We are going to just do this, so we keep with that DIY theme. Show everybody that you can do this stuff at home while saving hundreds of dollars and using the best quality products available for the job. All right, since we're not using the lift, I am going to cheat just a little bit. Look at this thing. This is a new style jack. Never used it before. Someone sent it to me, and well, figure it'll be a good time to try it out right now. It just uses this air spring to lift the car. So right here, there's a valve, and if I turn that valve on, whoa! And then there's a release valve. Let me get out of the way. Oh, it's real calm actually, and I'm imagining when the car's on it, the way the car will drop this down a bit quicker. So right here's the release valve. We're going to close it, and then right here is where we just let her rip. Whoa! All right. Shut that guy off. That was just so cool. That really beats jacking it. All right, now we'll just release the air pressure from it. And I really like that it does everything gradually. It adds air pressure gradually. It obviously releases the air pressure very gradually. I'm assuming at this point we're on the jack stand. Let's see here. Yep, there it is. Very neat. So the other really cool thing about this jack is it doesn't weigh as nearly as much as my other hydraulic pump type jacks. I'd say it weighs about 30-35 pounds, whereas the other ones weigh closer to like 70 or 80. car is actually really simple to work on. They give you an access hole right here for the drain bolt, and then our oil filter's up top, and since it's such a small engine, it doesn't even take that much oil. While that's draining down low, we'll open up the cap to give it a little bit of air, and then under here is where we're gonna find our oil filter. Our fresh oil filter costs right around 10 bucks. Came with a brand new housing gasket and a crush washer. Crush washer we'll obviously want to get on right now before we go and refill things. And now we just got to fill her up with some of this Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic. I've told you about this before. It's made from natural gas, which makes its wear protection elite level compared to any of that other stuff. And since it lasts so long, my brother won't be asking me to do this job again anytime soon. At least not on this car. Did you happen to notice that this BMW took a 0W20 spec oil, which is becoming a more prevalent weight with these hybrid and fuel-efficient vehicles? And luckily, Pennzoil makes their Platinum line in pretty much every single oil weight you need, and even better, you can pick the stuff up at Walmart. That's where I got mine, and this 5-quart jug cost me under 27 bucks. Doing jobs like this are super satisfying, not just because they're really cost-effective, but because you know what you put in your own car. When it's time for your next oil change, make sure you get the right oil weight. Make sure you get the best wear protection, which means you're going to want to get some Pennzoil Platinum. I'm going to drop a link to Walmart down in the description where you'll find all the different choices of Pennzoil Platinum available for your car at the best price possible. I'm still kind of enamored with this thing. I was wondering how much it will lift, and I see right here on the label it shows you right there it has a max load of 5 tons. Well, I think I've got a good test for that. All right, here we go. I'm gonna go slow. All right, we're going slow. Wow. I'll be honest, this is a little nerve-wracking. Is the truck off the ground? Oh my gosh. There it goes, the truck's off the ground. That's it. Well, I definitely say it passed this test. What, it's got to be holding up at least 3,000 plus pounds right now. Remember, you're not holding up the entire weight of the car, but we've got it directly in the center of the front of the car. And so this is really as heavy as you're going to get with a passenger SUV, I would think. And it seems to be holding it just fine. Really cool how this thing works. You ever spend a good portion of your life doing something one way and then you find out today a better way to do it? That's kind of how I feel after using that air jack. And while I'm totally thrilled we got the lift, I could think of several use case scenarios where an air jack like that will still be helpful around here. So I do want to give a huge thanks to Vivor for sending it to me. I'm going to drop a link to it down in the description box. And I think that anything that makes a job easier is worth sharing with you guys. So go ahead and check it out if you work on your own cars. And we just got delivery of our repaired seat belts right here from My Airbags, and these take a little bit longer than usual to come in because they have to ship them this special ground service for hazardous materials. That's because, remember, there's explosives in any sort of safety component, whether it be an airbag or a seat belt in your car. But the bigger dilemma here wasn't whether they were going to be able to repair these. We already knew that they were able to do that. It was, where are we going to get the connectors from to replace them in the car? Remember, they snipped all of my seatbelt connector harness on all 4 sides here. And you guys were very constructive in the comments and had a great idea, and it was go to the junkyard, find a Chevy truck, because again, essentially this is just a Chevy truck, and go snip the wiring harnesses out of those so you could splice them and solder them into the Escalade. Great idea. I was getting ready to go do that, but check this out. When I mentioned the situation, the guys over at My Airbags, they told me that they have tons of spare seatbelt components lying around, and they actually sent me this box just to be able to show you guys all the different stuff that they get sent. and they said they'll look through their spare parts and see if they can find, and they did, some pigtails for me. So they have got 4 pigtails already connected to our repaired seat belts. So before I was thinking that was going to be a partial solution, we have a full solution to fix our SRS system in the Escalade, and all for what, $250 or $260. It's why you always have to Google search solutions to your unconventional car problems. Now, speaking of unconventional car problems, my friend Rich from Rich Rebuilds is here in Florida, and he's brought down his LS swap Tesla because he's getting some work done on it, according to him. Now, I've been a pessimist about this project since day one. I've said many times I don't believe this car will ever move under its own power, and even though he's shown it moving under its own power in video, but I've got a million questions here. You see, recently he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe asked him,
so what was the motivation to build this V8 Tesla?
And his response was,
what can I do to this vehicle to make it so that I can get parts easy and it's easy to service and I have full control over it? I'm going to throw an LS in there. Throwing an LS in there, that allows me to get parts literally off the shelf from AutoZone.
Now, if you really wanted to build a car that you could get fixed at AutoZone, well, first of all, you don't have to build one. I've got a field full of them back there. Second of all, I'm pretty sure there's probably hundreds of AutoZones between where Rich lives and where I live, and he didn't have to bring his car like well over 1,000 miles away to get it worked on. But either way, it's here now. He's going to show it to me. And we're either going to see that this thing is a total sham, which I suspect it to be, or whether it's the real deal. All right, now here's the first warning sign. I just got off the phone with Rich. He's coming to pick me up right now. He said he got his rental car. And I said, just curious, what sort of car did you get? And he said a Tesla. We've got to drive 2 hours away to this shop. Why in the heck would he get a Tesla? You know what that means. We're going to be sitting at a few charging stations. Rich, I don't know. I feel like for how advanced the technology this is,
Yeah.
it's not that advanced.
Well, no, they want you to, they force you to stop. If we're driving a long ways, you have to stop.
And so they put it in the parking lot, in a thrift store parking lot, which I'm all about. Rich, I'm already starting to like this thrift store.
Why?
Oh, today only, 50% off. All merch. Rich, do you remember these things?
What do they do?
The CD stomper. So look, you turn this out.
Yeah.
Okay. You can actually buy labels when you would burn your own CDs. You could print labels off your inkjet. And then you put the CD on top of here.
I would just write on mine with a marker on the other side.
No, this was the very high-class way of doing it back in the day. That was a bit of a bust.
What was the bus? The thrift store?
Yeah, we went in looking for a shake weight.
They didn't have one this time.
No shake weight.
Usually they do, but this time it just didn't work out. Well, where are we anyways?
That's a good question.
Yeah, where are we in Florida?
I'm a native Floridian, and I don't even know what.
There's probably a Waffle House within a mile of here. I
Now
guarantee
look,
it.
3 Teslas. So what I really did find intriguing about the supercharger station in the middle of absolutely nowhere here in the middle of nowhere, Florida,
Exactly.
is that it probably tells me the people at Tesla
Yeah.
are interested in not just going crazy and buying, prime real estate everywhere, which is a good thing.
It's a really good thing.
Your selling point with all this nonsense all the time is
now it's starting to fill up again.
it is starting to fill up. But your selling point with this EV crap
Yeah.
is, it gives you time to stretch your legs and walk around. What? So I can park my
You can explore. You can explore the great parts of Florida.
yeah, like a Winn-Dixie, like what?
What's
And the
wrong with
thrift
Winn-Dixie?
store that didn't have a
There's
shake
a
weight.
Dollar General. There's a CVS, a Subway, and a Waffle House.
I have to cross a 4-lane. That's a double 4-lane highway to get to a Subway.
After you're done charging, you could go around. So.
I'll go eat the cold food during COVID in that Winn-Dixie before I'll go across a 4-lane
I
highway.
think it's fine, Sam. I think it's fine. Did you get to stretch, exercise? I got my steps in. I got more steps in, Sam.
I'm ready to go take a nap.
Okay.
All right, Rich, let's see. How much longer?
How close are we?
What does it say?
Oh, enough charge to continue trip.
Does it say that?
Yeah.
I can't
wasn't bad.
even read that font. It's so small. This is the future. The font is tiny.
You could make it bigger if you want. It's like an iPhone. You have an iPhone?
No, I don't have an iPhone.
I understand. Ready for this? Now you made fun of this car for so long, but it is finally here and you can see it in the flesh, Sam.
Rich, I still think that every piece of footage you show me on this. This is it.
It's a real car.
I thought it was all CGI.
Nope, it's not. Look, check out the front. Look at the inside. See? Manual shifter. The interior is clean. This is a real car, Sam.
It looks just like I saw in the videos. Let's go look at the engine.
Let's go over here.
Okay.
The back, I painted those letters myself. See? That's why we call it iced tea. It's like the color of iced tea, you know what I mean?
The color's not my favorite, I gotta be honest with you.
I think it's a pretty cool color. The Weld racing wheels.
They look really good, but Rich.
We're just fixing one of the wheels in the front.
Hold on. No, Rich.
What?
Let's see the whole reason that this car exists.
No, it's super fun.
I honestly never thought. Rich.
We have the lights. Look at the custom headlights I did.
Those look good, but
It's
what's
pretty cool right here. Yeah,
Rich?
no,
all right.
super
Yeah.
stoked about it.
Does this open like a regular car? Or hold on.
I think I may have shut it. I don't think I.
Rich, what's going on?
It's stuck.
Okay, cool. Let's see. I knew this was a sham the entire time.
Sam, it's not a sham. We're working on the engine right now.
No BS. This is all.
We're working on the engine. It's a running and driving car. It really is. We're just doing some work to it.
There was
That's all it
nothing
is.
ever here, guys.
No, there was.
This car, I called this. I said years ago. I said this will never be a running and driving project. Everything you've seen on his channel with it going down the street and all that, they took. Look how many Teslas they got in the shop. They got more out back. They took a car. They've got an exact duplicate. It's so simple. You go wrap one of these things. You got to put next to each other, the wrap shop. I figured this out, Rich. I knew this is the case. You had two identical cars. You drove it down, and it's freaking YouTube, which is everything on YouTube is fake nowadays. You put V8 LS engine noises. That's what happened here.
Engine's right here. Right here, Sam.
Well, why is it out of the car, Rich?
Well, we're working on it. We're getting
So wait, so you're telling me this worked at one point, now it doesn't work?
It did. All those videos is actually running and driving. That wasn't CGI. I don't have CGI money. They're gonna pay a guy to make a CGI like.
Rich, this looks like an engine out of like what's going on over here? Maybe this Land Rover or something.
This is the Tesla subframe. This is the subframe. These are Tesla brakes.
Well, I do remember when you gave us. Remember
Yeah.
you generously gave us a Tesla subframe for our Tesla rebuild.
Yeah, where's that Tesla now, by the way?
Another YouTube channel owns it and totally wrecked it. He's a good guy though.
So it's getting a supercharger. Has it on top already. It's a fully built engine, stroker kit.
So I want to know who actually will believe this nonsense. We're sitting in an EV repair shop, and of course he's got a V8 LS, and this is the biggest hoax the internet has ever had.
It's not a hoax, Sam. So in the EV shop, we have mechanics that have worked on gas cars in the past. Like Travis, Travis is right here. Travis, this is perfect. Explain to Sam, which doesn't understand, that you've worked on gas-powered cars in the past, and that's why you have the knowledge to work on things like this. Please.
That's kind of self-explanatory.
Thank you, Sam.
I've worked on gas-powered cars in the past, and I can hardly get the freaking oil filter off.
Did you do it for a living? Was it your profession? Was it your hobby? Did you have your own shop? Did you make modified cars over 500 horsepower for years and years and years?
Nope, he just buys them.
I'll tell you right now, I flashed a hell of a tune one time on my computer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an email too, and they did a really good job actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw it myself.
No knock or nothing. Yeah.
Bluetooth horsepower.
So, in summary, Rich loves DIY repair so much he started his own EV service shop just so they could rip the drivetrain from a flooded old Tesla, make it slower and arguably less reliable, all so he could source repair parts from an AutoZone. And to make more sense of things, while he was down here, he bought himself a new Rivian truck. Yeah, I don't get this guy, but at least I don't have to drive it home with him.
Maybe.
Rich,
Yeah.
that LS Tesla might be a fraud, but at least it made you enough money to buy one of these sweet things.
Thanks for the kind words, Sam.
You're welcome. Have a
you very
safe
much.
trip.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've got the steering wheel in front of the screen so you don't see addresses, but just so you know, Rich has to go one state north. It's going to take him a whole day to get there and 3 charging stops at approximately 40 minutes each.
Yep.
Then that's getting off the highway, getting back on the highway. I don't know why you'd ever want to do that. And by the way, that's one state. You've got to go all the way up north to, Rich lives in the northeast of the United States. I live in Florida, which if anybody knew, it was in the south.
Yeah.
Like it's the southernmost
It
state.
couldn't be any more south.
Yes.
Than that. Yeah, and I couldn't be much more north.
Okay, you picked a good car to buy on this trip, Rich.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool, right?
Good.
EVs of the future, Sam.
Yeah, I'm okay with my Range Rover.
I figured as much. See you, Sam.
See you, Rich. Thanks.